everybody, and welcome to the Stop the Nonsense show. I'm your host, Joe Melrose, and this is a podcast where we talk about things that grind your gear, right? There are so many things in this world that just irk you and tick us off, and you just want to tell people to stop it. Stop the nonsense. That's what the theme of this podcast is about stopping the nonsense in this world. Sometimes you want to tell people to stop it, but sometimes you just can't. It's just not PC or kosher. Maybe it's with coworkers or people in public that you just don't want to ruffle their feathers, but you just want to tell them to stop the nonsense. So we'll be talking about certain topics and throughout the podcast episodes, but we'll start at light with this episode, uh, focusing on rude people. People that are just not courteous. You know what I'm talking about. There are people out in this world who are just rude, right? Plain old rude, and we can't believe that they just said or did something or are doing something, and you just want to tell them to stop it. Stop the nonsense, please, people. I hope the more we talk about these things and the word spreads, people will stop it, and we make this world a better place to live for all of us. And maybe those people that are doing it don't realize it, or maybe they do, and they just don't care. But if we talk about it more and bring it to their attention, maybe they'll just stop it. It might click somewhere in there and they realize that that's not cool, right? So, how about we start with rude people out in public? Oh, there's a whole list of those, right? I mean, I think we could talk about that for a long time. A lot of things that grinds our gears, right? I want to start with something that's really, really strong. When I see that, I just want to. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say I want to do. It's people driving in the freaking fast lane, right? And they just won't move over, and they're doing probably the speed limit, maybe sometimes below the speed limit. There's nobody else in front of them in the fast lane, and they won't move over, and you just can't get around them because there's other cars to their right, but they're not passing them. They're just sitting there as if, with no care in the world, just doing their 55 5 miles an hour or 60, whatever the speed limit is, while the rest of the world is trying to get somewhere ASAP, and they're just not moving over. What is it with those people? Do they just not care, or are they saying, "Well, you shouldn't be speeding"? How does the saying go? People that are going faster than you are hooligans, and people that are going slower than you are morons. So where do they fit? That is true, by the way. I'm a fast driver, and when people pass me, I'm like, "Whoa!" But when people are going slower than myself, I'm like, "What a moron! Move over, please. Stop it. Stop the nonsense." Why don't they move over? True story. When I was in college, this is many years ago, this used to really bother me. I used to work 80 hours a week while going to school full time. I used to play sports for the college I went to. And so I was really busy and I was trying to keep a social life. So I was always trying to get to places ASAP. And I just didn't have enough time in the day to do everything. So anyway, I tend to go fast on the highway just to make up time, and people would just not move over. And this was in South Florida, so traffic was pretty heavy. And one day, I decided to do something about it, and I took this 2x2 whiteboard sign and I wrote with a marker on it, "Get off the passing lane, asshole." So I would keep that in my car, and when I went on the highway or people that were just not moving over and not being courteous when they could and should, either pass whoever you're next to or move over so people can get by, and they just won't. Anyway, so what I would do is whenever I got my chance to go past them on the right while they're still in the fast lane, I would slow down a little bit, put that sign up against my window, the driver's window, and watch them look at it and just nod my head and just punch it, gas it, and move on. That kind of gave me a little bit of gratification for what it's worth, but it ticked me off. I got to tell them, stop it, stop the nonsense. And that was my sign. Get off the passing lane, asshole. Until one day, I did this, the same thing. This lady uh, wouldn't move over, and she wasn't passing anybody, and I'm in a hurry. I couldn't go past her because there was cars to her right, and she would not pass them. They were going the same speed, parallel to each other. I'm like, come on, either pass somebody, slow down, or move over, do something, get out of here. And for miles, she wouldn't get over. I finally got my chance to pass her on the right side. I slowed down, put up my sign, and I saw her look at it. And oh boy, when I punched it, I looked in my rearview mirror. And she was right on my back bumper, chasing me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Doing 55 miles an hour for miles, and now you want to go fast and you want to chase me? Oh my gosh. So again, I'm a fast driver. I'm hauling, weaving through traffic, trying to get to my point, and she will not let go. I couldn't shake her off, and on this went for a while. For miles, we went through traffic, and I'm like, she's gonna kick my ass. Oh boy. Until we got near to my exit, I was in like, it was a 3-lane highway. I was in the middle lane, and I'm like, here's what I'm going to do. As soon as I got close to the, last minute to turn off the exit, I just swerved to the right, went off got off the exit, and obviously it was too late for her to do that. So she continued, but I think she would have kicked my ass. But anyway, I just wanted to tell people to stop it, stop the nonsense. I don't know if that changed her mind. Maybe it made it worse, and she's like, okay, I'm going to stay here now to show you, teach people like me a lesson. Or maybe she realized, hey, that's not cool. All right, fine. You know what? I get it. Move over. I don't know. But if she's not going to move over, I guess that sign didn't have an effect one way or the other. But maybe it did some good. And if we talk about these things more, maybe people will pay attention to these things more. Hopefully, we can change things. How about people that talk on their phones, on their cell phones, loud? And not only do they speak loud in public, but they have the other side on speakerphone. So you can hear the whole conversation on both sides. What's up with that? Come on. Stop it. Stop the nonsense. I don't want to hear about your work or your personal life or oh my, the other day I was at the grocery store. The lady was talking loud on her phone how she was having people over. She has to clean her kitchen. Her kitchen's such a mess, and so is coming, and she knows she's gonna moan and complain about the house. And the other side says, "I can't believe you're inviting so and so." Stop it! I don't want to hear all that. Please. Oh my gosh. Turn it off speakerphone. Speak lower. Why do people have to loud at the airports? Why are people louder on their phones at the airport? Even if it's not on speakerphone, they're just yelling on the dang phone, and you can hear everything they're talking about. Stop it. Or at a restaurant or all sorts of places. You've seen it, you've heard it at the grocery store, and sometimes you can't shake them loose. Somebody's falling. You know how you work your way through the grocery aisles from one side to the other end. There's times I remember I couldn't. Every aisle I went to, this person was in that aisle going the opposite way. I literally skip an aisle or two just to get rid of them so I can come back later, and somehow they still catch up with me or skip aisles too. Like, and I don't want to hear them. Stop it. And they're not paying attention where they're pushing their cart, shopping cart, and blocking the ways and going real slow. And how about slow people, right? At the grocery store. Move your cart out of the way, stop blocking the aisles, and let people pass, and stop yelling on your phone. I think that's just called common courtesy. Stop it. Stop the nonsense. Stop being so rude in public. The same goes with crappy parkers. People that park, is that a word, crappy parker? People that park taking up two spaces or right on the line so you can't get in next to them because you can't open your door if you do. What's up with that? Like when I park a little crooked or skew, and I get even when I get out of my car and I see that, I'm like, let me straighten up. That's not cool. Why don't people pay attention? Park straight. Don't take up two spaces. Don't park too close to another car where you gotta literally bang their car when you open your door, or they can't get in their car when they gotta get in. Stop it. Pay attention to these things, people. I know you all listeners are understanding. You know what I'm talking about. And you feel like just keying their car, right? And maybe one time it happened, maybe it didn't. Once in my life, something maybe happened like that. I'm not going to fess up to it here, but stop it. Stop the nonsense, or else your car will get keyed by somebody who's really ticked off because you're parked too close to them. And maybe there's a little scratch on their car thinking you banged their car with your door, and then your car gets keyed, right? I'm not saying that that's what we should do. Just saying, stop it. Stop the nonsense, people. Or while we're talking about parking, how about people that park in front of your house, right? Even your own dang neighbors. Why don't they park in front of their own house or in their driveway or just park somewhere else? Don't park in front of my house. Why do people do that? Uh, you know, and that becomes the norm. They keep doing that, and again, these types of things just grinds my gear. I'm sure some of you out there feel the same. Unless you live in an apartment, and even then, parking is challenging, right? People don't park straight; they're too close to your car and so forth, and you can't find parking. Uh, Stop it! Stop the nonsense, people. Be courteous. Again, why do people park in front of other people's houses? I'm okay if you're having a party, you're having guests over. That's fine. That's okay. That's normal. But when it's your own car, your own kids, families, I used to live in this house years ago where next door to me was a rental house. They were renting it. I kid you not, they had 7 cars to that house, and not only would they not fill up their own driveway or garage, they would fill up my own freaking parking space in front of my house and almost block my driveway. That used to tick me off. I'm like, dude, put your cars in your driveway. I guess they couldn't back up or switch lane cars or whatever because one person came after another. But hey, figure it out. You don't need to block my driveway or park in front of my house. I got to cut my grass and now I can't because your car's right there. And that's another thing. I one day I actually made a big sign. And by the way, they used to make U-turns or turn in my driveway. They would come past their own house, even though they had a driveway. They would pass their own house, come in my driveway, turn around, and park right in front of my house. I'm like, dude, stop it. So I made a sign saying, please don't pull in my driveway or block my driveway. I can't believe I have to tell them that. And I left that sign up in front of my driveway, and they stopped doing U-turns in front of my driveway, but they still parked in front of my house, which, again, maybe I did, maybe I didn't put a nail or two under their tires. Just saying, after a point, there's really nothing else to do, right? Uh, Not saying I did it. Maybe I didn't do it. Just saying, LOL. Anyway, people need to be courteous and not do these nonsense things. Like, think about it. Stop being so rude to your neighbors or other people. How about people that put stinky food in microwaves? Whether it's people in your own household or at work, some of you have gone back to work after the COVID virtual working, and maybe some people are working hybrid. Yes, we still have people that put stinky fish or whatever they're eating for lunch in the darn microwave, and it smells up the whole place. Or people that throw popcorn in the microwave a little too much, and the whole office stinks like burnt popcorn. Burnt popcorn. You know what I'm talking about. You've smelt it, and the whole office smells like burnt popcorn or whatever smelly fish they had for lunch. Stop it. Stop the nonsense, people. I just thought of another situation which is really gross and nasty that people need to stop it. People cut their nails just anywhere. Gosh, I even tell, people in my own household, make sure you clean that up. Cut it somewhere where I don't want nails all over the place, right? They shoot and fling everywhere. That's not how it should be, right? I remember this one time I was at work. I was new at this place and I heard nails clipping. And we all had cubicles. So I stood up and went to look and see. No joke. I kid you not, people. This guy had his shoes and socks off. He had his foot on his desk. His foot was on his desk. He was clipping his toenails. Are you kidding me? I saw, and then across from him in his cubicle, there was somebody else, a desk across from him. We looked at each other. She shook her head. I almost said something, but I didn't. This person was a more of a senior employee, and I was kind of new there, and I didn't want to say anything. So I just said, "Are you kidding me? Not even, not even his fingernails. It's his toenails. That's gross. Stop it. Stop the nonsense." So the next thing I was just thinking about is people with loud music. I used to live in an apartment at one point, or even if you live in a house, people that just blast their music and it won't stop. It goes past midnight. You don't want to call the cops. They probably know who called, right? Even though you call anonymously, but they're just not considerate. I stayed in an apartment and people above were so noisy constantly, past 12, past 1, blasting their music. It literally felt like they had their speakers on the floor facing downwards and blasting that music. I'm like, are you kidding me? People have to go to work the next day. Or even if you didn't, still got to get your sleep. Like, come on, at least stop it at midnight. And I guess their floor was tiled or whatever. Everything was amplified. Felt like they had a marching band up there, just marching up and down when they walked and dropping stuff on the floor and dragging things. Like, come on, people, stop it! Stop the nonsense. When you're living in a tight community, small community where people are maybe you live in a zero lot line, people are right on top of each other, so close, or in apartments, condos, whatever. Be courteous. Be nice. Stop it. Think about it. At some point, yes, have your once a month or year party. Not every night. Don't blast your stuff and make such a racket. Be courteous. Stop being so rude to your dang neighbors. That's just ridiculous. How do people not think about other people? Oh, but when somebody does that to you, that sucks, right? You're probably going to call the cops. Stop it. Stop the nonsense, people. Let's all be courteous and kind and nice to each other. There's just one more thing I got to talk about. This is really, really funny, I guess, or ridiculous, and frankly nonsense. I was watching TV the other day, and this whole thing going on with Israel and Palestine and Gaza, and it's terrible. It's terrible. People are being killed on both sides. It's just it needs. I think it needs to stop. I don't care whose side you're on. It needs to stop. And yes, they need to return obviously all the hostages, but it's been going on for too long. Anyway, they were showing this clip about how I guess recently uh, Lebanon reached a settlement with Israel so they wouldn't fight. But then they went to Palestine, Gaza, where people, were in famine, and the fighting there is still ongoing, and people were starving there, and it's a real thing. There's famine going on. They've shut off supplies, food, power, whatever they need. Like there's people are starving, right? They're showing kids holding little bowls, trying to get some bread or flour to go cook bread, right? I kid you not. From that segment, they move on to saying how there's a new study about obesity in America, and these pills that we're taking may have side effects like Ozempic. Uh, and the camera was showing heavy set people, fat people, I guess, walking, and they were showing them from their gut down. You can see their fat asses walking over. And the news was talking about obesity is a pandemic or a problem, especially now with people trying to take these miracle drugs and whatever. And I stopped and looked at my wife. I said, "Are you kidding me? We go from people that have nothing to eat, they're scraping the ground for water or food, and they're starving, and literally we've got a famine crisis. The very next segment, we have a fat problem. We can't stop eating problem. That's our problem in America. We can't stop eating. That's our problem while the rest of the world is starving. And that's just, the war zone. There's obviously, you've heard of it, the African countries that are starving and everybody needs food. That's our problem. We're too fat. We can't stop eating. Oh my gosh. What is going on? Stop the nonsense, people. How is that our biggest problem or among our biggest problems? That's a pandemic, obesity, it's a health issue. Stop eating. Oh my gosh. Can you see the whole contrast here? And no joke, this gets better. From that segment, they go on to another segment where I don't want to name the dog brand. There was a dog treat brand. It was a chicken bacon flavor being recalled. It's a dog treat, bacon and chicken or chicken flavor being recalled. I'm like, whoa, we just went from famine, people dying of starvation, to we can't stop eating, to giving us our pets treats that may not be good for them. So what? Now we're gonna go get different treats. This is not dog food. We're talking just treats. We're gonna go get different treats for our dogs and pets because this other one is not good. I'm like, I bet starving people around the world would want those treats. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, stop it. Do we stop and think about these things? Honestly, most of us would have probably just sat there like, oh, yeah, we shouldn't get those dog treats. And yeah, well, maybe I'll be more careful with my Ozempic intake or whatever, but we'll keep eating and have a problem because we can't stop eating and we're going to be too fat. And now I was like, that's our problem? Those are our issues here in America? Oh my gosh, that's just stop it, stop it. Why don't we think about these things? Think about how things could be, or, we how fortunate we take a lot of things for granted, obviously, but oh my gosh, if you just stop and think about it and talk about it, maybe we'd start acting a little bit differently, have a little more compassion, maybe, and think, eh, stop the nonsense, people. Anyway, I think I've covered enough, and I'm sure you guys have a whole list of things that just grind your gear and irk you and tick you off, and you just want to turn around and say, stop it. Stop the nonsense, people. Please stop it. I'm your host, Joe Melrose, and thanks for listening and tuning in. Uh, Check out our other podcasts. I have a whole host of other topics where people just need to stop the nonsense. and I think you're going to enjoy those topics we're talking about. Thank you, and let's make this world a better place.